live. Happy day in between, happy week between Christmas and New Year's 2021. It's a really exciting time. Really, I've always liked this time of the year, really, because it gives you a chance to look back at your previous year and kind of plan for the next year, right? And so part of that is kind of figuring out where you are, because it's easy to figure out where you're going to go. Like, it's easy to figure out how to get somewhere if you know, like, right where you are. And so there's a lot of freedom in having goals, right? But not only having goals, knowing how to actually accomplish those goals. So how do you not only have a goal, but how do you make it, realistic, right? Because you got to have big goals that are stretched, that are kind of like, it's huge for you. But it's also like, how do I hit small achievable goals on the way to the bigger end goal, right? I don't know about you, but when I always thought, like, hey, if I could just make six figures, that would be a good starting point. So it starts at six figures, and then how do you get to, 200,000 and then 300,000? Or, if you're breaking it down by weekly income, it's how do you go from writing, two or three sales a week to writing 5 or 7 sales a week to being able to write 7 to 10 sales a week. And so I think the biggest thing that I don't know, a lot of people are thinking is how do I get 2022 to become an amazing year, right? And so when we look at it, one of the things is, if you treat it like a business, you're going to get business results, right? So treating your business like a business. Now we're just going to talk about, like, you as someone, like, that's going out there and selling insurance, right? Like, as an insurance salesperson, right? And I know some of us are building teams, and some of us are just starting to really get started. But how do I break that down and treat it like a business so that I know exactly where I'm headed? Because think about this. It's not just the money you're making today, it's the money that you make tomorrow and the year after that and the year after that and the year after that. And as long as these people keep this money going into the insurance companies, we continue to get paid. So as long as they stay covered for their family, we keep getting paid on it, right? So it's really about creating certainty, okay? And so I wanted to kind of put a couple of things down here. Let's see if I can do this. A couple of things that really I feel like are like, you can't beat the numbers and the numbers can't beat you, right? So if we think about our numbers, so I can break down a number and make it really simple. And I'll give you a quick example. But if we go by some simple numbers, and actually, just to give you an idea, there is a workbook that's coming out to help you work through some of this stuff. But really, the numbers that matter the most as far as your sales business goes is your dials, your contacts, how many appointments you're booking. So how many appointments you're actually booking, right? How many sits that you have, how many people you're actually sitting with, how many closes out of those sits, right? Because if we look at any of these metrics, it's really easy to break down, like, where we need to work on, right? So how many closes you have, the number, I'm going to go across here, number of applications you're writing. So how many applications are you writing? How much money you found, retirement money. You get what you focus on, so if you think about, hey, did I find 100,000 this week? Did I find 3 million this week? Did I find 280,000? It's crazy how when you start focused on finding the money, you start moving more money. And then how many referrals did I get? Right? If me and you sit down together and we look at these numbers and we start to really analyze them and say, hey, what are we doing? Where can we get better? Because honestly, without this data, it's really difficult to figure out where the problem is. Like, so for instance, let's say that this week you make 300 phone calls, right? And you only talk to 12 people. Well, now we got to go, well, dang, man, like, who are you calling? What time are you calling? Your contact ratio. I want to change pens. How do I red? So right here, like, your contact ratio, like, this is a problem, right? Like, how do we fix this problem? Is it that, I don't know, maybe we need to check when's the last time you got new people to call? Maybe you're calling from an out-of-state number. Maybe I don't know, maybe you've already called those leads, I don't know, 42 times in the last week, and we just need more of them. I don't know, but that gives us something to work with, right? So with the dial to contact ratio, maybe, but here's the thing is if you made, 100, if you make 112 phone calls and you contact, 15 people to 20 people, like I know that's a good contact ratio, right? So now we look at it and go, okay, we've contacted a decent amount of people. How many appointments did we book? If you talk to 15 people and you only booked 2 or 3 appointments, well, we need to work on what you're saying, right? Now, if you talk to 14 people and you book 13 of them, we're good. We're golden. We're excited. Woo, baby. Like we're excited about what's happening now. And I know I'm beating this up, but it's almost like, well, how do you help yourself? And then if you're trying to help someone else, this is some of the stuff to really go over and figure out where the problem is, right? So we know this person's getting a good contact ratio. Now we're going, well, dang, their contact to appointment ratio is no good. So it's really breaking that down. Now, let's say we get this in 14 out of 13, but out of your 13 appointments, you only sit on 7 of them. Well, we know that we need to work on that tie down at the end of your phone script, right? And so really, as we analyze these numbers, if we look at 6 weeks, 6 weeks is a good amount of data to be able to figure out like, hey, where am I at and where can I go? If you let's say you sit on 10 out of 14, like that's all right. What happened? Did we reschedule? Would they not sit down with you? What happened with them? Out of these 10 that you sat on, how many did you help? If you only helped 2 or 3, well, dang, we got to work on your in-home. We got to really hone down those skills. And we talk about the phone calls and the appointments and the dials all the time, but we can look at any one of these metrics and go, where are we missing out? Where do we need to get better? Let's say you help five houses and you only have 5 applications. Well, dang, man, I'm going, shoot. We need to write more than one app in the home. What else can we start talking about? Can we talk about kids policies, accidental death? What are we looking at? What do I need to get better at? And this is two questions that have changed my world that I love asking is, what do I need to get better at in my business? What do I need to get better at in my life? And if I ask myself those questions, I can come up with other questions off of those questions that I need to ask to get better, right? If this week we found in 4 different homes, we found, 380,000, I would consider that a good week. If you found $0, I would say you didn't ask anybody, right? How many referrals did I get? If I got 5 sales, did I get 50 to 60 referrals? Right. And if we're getting 50 to 60 referrals, well, that goes back into having enough people to dial over here. Right. And so when we look at these numbers over a 6-week period and we really break them down, it's very clear to figure out what to do. Because first off, if we're making 300 or more phone calls a week, I know that you're making phone calls. Why? Because I believe that you can make $50 an hour, and that's about 6 hours of phone calls. Well, if it's 6 hours of phone calls, then we can really break this down. So like, let's just think about this. Let's say that these are your numbers. You did 300 dials. You talked to, let's just say you talked to 38 people and you booked 20 appointments for the week. Okay. If those are your numbers, there's a few things we can work on. We can work on this right here, trying to bridge that gap and get you 24, 25, 26 appointments. And then how many of these did you sit on? Let's say you sat 15 and you helped 7. All right. Well, here's the crazy thing is like, this number is a little high to book ratio, but those aren't terrible numbers. If you make 300 calls and you make 7 appointments, really we know, or 7 sales, we know that if you made 6 hours of phone calls and you make this 300 dials, then we know statistically that you're going to come out with 7 sales if this is your number over 6 weeks. So let's say the number is a couple thousand phone calls, couple hundred contacts, couple 100 appointments. We can really start to break it down and figure out, hey, if I want to make a certain amount of money, I can, let's go to the next page. I can just figure out that if I dial, so one of the most freeing things to me was finding out that when I make phone calls, I book about 5 appointments every single hour. Why is that freeing? Because I know if I need 15 to 20 appointments, that I need 3 to 4 hours of phone calls to book up 15 to 20 appointments. So 15 to 20. All right, these are my numbers, okay? These are like real numbers. These aren't made up. So, I'd make about 150 to 200 phone calls, and I can book about 15 to 20 appointments, no problem. 15 to 20 appointments. Out of 15 to 20 appointments, when I was really not that good at getting people to show up, if I had 20, I would get 10 people to show up. Now I was able to improve that number up to closer to 15 to 16. But when I was bad, and I say bad, like I wasn't that good at the phone script when I was learning the phone script, it was 10, right? So if I could get 10 appointments, to show up out of 20, I knew that I could help 5 of them and write about $5,000 in business off of this amount of work. And so that's what for me is freeing, is I know that I can sit down and I know that if I book 20 appointments, worst case scenario, I'm going to sit 10 and help 5. Most of the time it's better than that, right? And so why is that freeing? Because I don't know anywhere else that you can go out and write $5,000 in business, make $5,000 in a week by going out there and selling on a 30-hour work week. Because that's really what this is. This is a 30-hour work week. And what that does is it frees up time to figure out how to do more other things. So you just got to figure out where your variables are. And from those variables, you can figure out how to really maneuver your time and get stuff done quicker. And so when we look at that, and then it's taking that and scheduling it out. So a couple of the tools that we're going to have and a couple of things that I think will help a bunch is we have a life planner book that's going to be coming out very soon. I'm hoping it'll be ready, in the next few weeks. It's ready. We just got to wait on some proofing and stuff like that. And then from there, you'll be able to track your numbers a little bit, but honestly, I would get, there's a tracker spreadsheet that I would get, or you can make your own, or if you're not sure, we can send you a copy of one. And basically, it'll just analyze the numbers. So you can just plug in your numbers for each week and it'll tell you, boom, here's your averages. Here's how many, it'll tell you all this stuff. It tells you all this stuff and it breaks down all these numbers that we're talking about. And so let me see what else. I had something else in here. Okay. And so when here's something that's awesome. When you know that for 3 hours of work that you can go out there and whatever your numbers are, let's just say that in 3 hours, you book 1 out of every 20 phone calls, you make $60 an hour. So that means that's 2 an hour. You're going to make, is that right? 60, 1 out of every 23 an hour. So that's, let's say 2 to 3 an hour. So that means in 3 hours, you're going to have 6 or 7 appointments. So if you've got 7 appointments and you just figure out what the numbers are. So that might mean for you, if you're not really good at getting them to show up at first, just book more of them while you're getting the skill set of being able to get them to show up. Right. And that doesn't have to take very long. It's just a couple conversations. If you're good at getting them to show up, but you're not great at helping them get the insurance, well, maybe you should be listening to some training audios. You should be doing some things like that. So I really wanted to keep this call short. It's a week in between Christmas and Christmas and New Year's. My God, I was going to say Thanksgiving. Anyway, I hope you guys have a good rest of your week. I'll send this out. If you guys want to mess with it, we'll put some worksheets in there that you can play around with the numbers. And I hope you have a good, happy New Year. We'll talk to you soon.